Reading.
Firstly, thank you for making us wait till 10:30 to get relatively sober. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff, the other half of this distinguished double act of Best Man. It might surprise some of you that I'm not the other half of a civil relationship with Matt, who did some of you last night. He's a good-looking lad, but he's not my type. George, it's been an absolute pleasure to share the role of Best Man with you. That speech was really emotional, some beautiful words. Had a tear in my eye at the end, not because of the words themselves, because I wish I'd read it first to judge the tone of it before writing what's about to come. So, brace yourselves. Now, I have to be honest, I was surprised, as many of you, that Jim had the choice of Best Men, let alone too willing to do the job. Here we are. In fact, I read recently that 66% of Brits love a puzzle, which means about 2/3 of you are currently trying to work out what on earth Catherine sees in you. And Catherine, I must take a moment to say, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody here, how beautiful you look. And seeing you in that dress made me think it must make a nice change from wearing the trousers in the relationship. And reaffirms what most of us think, that Jim bats well above his average on and off the field. Now, this is only the second time that I've done a Best Man speech, so as you can imagine, there's been a few nerves in the build-up. In fact, this isn't the first time today that I stood up off a warm seat with white pieces of paper shaking in my hands. As you can appreciate, being asked to be a Best Man is about 5 minutes of glowing pride, followed by what feels like an eternity of panic and misery, much like Catherine must have felt when Jim asked her to be his wife. So in the build-up to today, I referred back to the notes for the only other Best Man speech I've done. Number 1, no negativity about marriage or weddings in general. Or who doesn't love a good excuse to come out to Spain for the week? Number 2, mentions of past relationships. Luckily a short list, so we won't go there. Drinks, drugs, gambling. No, this is the notes from your stag do. Adult humour or any other mention of sex. Now, given that there's no children here, I reckon I can get away with this one. Yes, Jim, we've reached the part where you twitch nervously in your seat and shuffle around, much like you will do later when the venue manager comes over with the final bill. Now, this is where you'd all expect the smutty stag stories and cliches about strippers and what happened on the stag stays on the stag. But no, for that, we only need to look as far as the hens. Now, the hens. And a hen night that made our stag do in Dublin look like a 4-day meditation retreat. If 4-day meditation retreats were sponsored by Guinness. Where Jim was in bed by midnight, put to bed by midnight most nights. I hear it's actually the hens that indulged in wild debauchery. All I know is that when Kelly returned home, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. When in fact, what she had seen was, quote, the biggest, girthiest, hairiest, longest, legged spider sitting by the front door. I don't know why that's made a number of you go bright red. Only you can answer that. So back to Jim. As it's been mentioned, we met in 2005 when we were at uni. And to be honest, I'm surprised we ever became friends, as I wasn't initially impressed by what I saw. A guy wearing Timberland boots, tracky bees, a flat peak baseball cap, and a full-length Burberry pattern dressing gown. With the ever-present sound of gangster rap music and a questionable aroma emanating from his bedroom. The first time we actually spoke to each other was at a barbecue in Freshers Week, and as Jim will attest to, I was wearing a Welsh rugby shirt, which probably explains why I was standing on my own. Jim thought to himself, at least I can talk to that guy about rugby. So what have we learnt about Jim so far? Well, not only did he have a terrible dress sense, but an even worse judge of character. Unfortunately, it's only the latter that's got better with age. Now, given the ensemble that greeted me, I have to admit that I misinterpreted our first meeting as an attempted mugging. However, since that day, I'm pleased to say that we've become the best of friends. Now, 2005 wasn't just a prominent year for Jim and I. YouTube was created, Brad left Jennifer for Angelina, and Prince Harry attended a costume party dressed as an actor. This reminded me of a story. A memory of the time Jim attended a Eurovision party representing Israel. Unfortunate timing. Now you'd probably expect him to be wearing a long white shirt, black hat, long rings of hair. But no, what greeted us was an image of Jim dressed as an Arab, with a full white robe and Shima headscarf. His excuse, which beggars even more questions, it's all I could find. Almost 20 years later, when Jim asked me to be his best man, or half a best man, I was thrilled. Now obviously I know Jim's a great guy, but I wanted to find out what those closest to him thought about him. Arrogant, stubborn, self-centered, just a bit of a knob really. But who was I to argue with his mother? Well, who can I say looks absolutely stunning this evening? You and John are no doubt incredibly proud of Jim and what he's achieved and the fine gentleman he's become. Cue Sarah's eye roll and the mutter of "here we can go again." Between us, I think we've all done a pretty good job of raising Jim. Catherine, you're very welcome. He's your responsibility now. So that's what the family thought. What about his mates? Surely the cricket lads would have something better to say about him. Bit of a bellend. Thinks he's Joe Root and Marcus Stoinis rolled into one, when in fact he couldn't hit the side of a runner or spas with a bat or ball. I was stumped. Why on earth did they make him captain for the cricket team this year? So at the stag do, I pulled Slaney to one side and said, "What am I missing?" He said, "Jeff, you know that fancy new scoreboard and camera we've got? Paid for by Catherine to ensure that Jim was out of the house for 22 Saturdays a year." In fact, talking of the lads at Walton, some of those who aren't here today have kindly sent a short message that they wanted me to read out. Could you do the honours and just say it's not a magic trick, don't worry. No, I've not read this, it was addressed to you, so I don't want to read it, so don't shoot the messenger. Thank you. That looks all right, actually. Dear Jim and Catherine, huge congratulations to you both. We hope you have a wonderful time celebrating with those closest to you. May your special day be filled with happy memories you'll treasure forever. P.S. Jim, a true gem, but useless in all positions. We hope Catherine has a better luck with him tonight. I said, don't shoot the messenger.
You couldn't have written that, but you did.
As Jim said, Jim and I have been lucky to travel the world together. We've watched cricket in South Africa and the Caribbean, boxing in Las Vegas, Formula One in Singapore, as George mentioned, a number of great trips to watch Le Mans. We often reminisce about those trips, and I can't tell you how much it means to have been able to share those incredible experiences and create so many brilliant memories with someone that means so much to me, so here's to many more. Now I could stand here and tell you embarrassing and funny stories about Jim all night, but most of them far too inappropriate. Most incriminate many people in this room. Some of them are illegal, and I think there's arrest warrants out for quite a few here as well. But happy to share them over a drink later. Jim, you've been the best friend I could wish for. We've had so many laughs together and have always had each other's backs. You've always been there for me when I've needed you, probably because it's an excuse to go down the pub and chew the fat over a pint, but I'm entirely grateful for that. None of us could be happier to see the love you and Catherine share, and we all wish you a lifetime of happiness together as you embark on this exciting new chapter of your relationship. If you'd all please join me, have I lost it at the crucial moment? In raising a glass to Jim and Catherine.
Jim and Catherine.
Jack.